Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are doing another installment of the weekly meta breakdown focusing on the timeless best of one format. We covered best of three a couple days ago. We'll do it again once the week kind of resets. This will give us about now 2-ish weeks of data with the new Modern Horizon 3 cards in, seeing how the meta kind of shapes up. But as always, we cover all the formats. Leading up next weekend's the Historic Metagame Challenge, so we'll be focusing a little bit more deep dive there, just given that there is a bunch of kind of reward to doing so. Hopefully they do a timeless one in the near future as well. That'd be really nice to kind of get a feel for the format. But as always, we get the data from UntapedGG, what you see on the screen, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client, aggregates your win rate with other users, gives a bunch of stats that we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be focusing Diamond and Mythic rank. In the video, we're going to start off with popularity, just kind of get a feel of where the distribution of decks are, and then we will look at the deck lists themselves. I'll paste them all into importable links so you can copy and paste. They'll timestamp them. All is good in that respect. So looking at the popularity of decks, Boros Energy is kind of jumping up. We have 22% representation. There's kind of two versions. There's a Lurrus version, and then there's a version that plays bigger with Phlage, the new Titan god. So we'll take a look at both of those versions. We have Rakdos Scam at about 5%, 4-color Show and Tell, Rakdos Burn at 2, and then Domain at 1.2. We see just kind of a big flip-flop where Scam was the most popular deck early on, and those pretty much just flip-flop. The energy decks are very powerful. I'm almost like between best of one and best of three in Historic with the version. I've only lost 3 times in close to 50 games. Between it, the deck's just ridiculous. Just a lot of synergy with the deck, a lot of powerful cards kind of playing into it. If you are looking for some tech cards, the card that you play in best of 3 in white that you might want to look at is Sun Cleanser. It's a really fringe like modern and like 19, not modern, like core set 19 that just removes counters. So it basically removes the energy counters and they can't get counters. It just stonewalls a lot of their removal afterwards too. So we'll kind of look through that. Not too much, like we only have like a week of worth of the data, so usually we start seeing trend lines get a little bit bigger as we kind of approach. In terms of like the top of the leaderboards, a lot of like 5-color beans style stuff, some dredge which we'll look at, and the Rakdos Phoenix which we'll cover. Nothing like super innovative or jump out that we've seen this week that I really want to highlight as a standalone deck. So we will jump into the stats. One thing you'll notice on the top right-hand corner, we're closing in on 13,000 subs. We're 99 away. So if you haven't subbed to the channel, free, easy, helps it out. We try to get the content out every week to try to get around paywall, stuff like that, so you can get some information and be mindful of your wildcards. This set is very expensive. I've opened like 300 packs and I still don't have everything, but we will go with that. So we are looking 15,000 matches between June 15th and the 22nd. And the highest win rate deck, most played, highest win rate, Boros Energy, 83%. So this version here is the non-Lurrus version. And you have Phlage as kind of the big payoff. Very strong against like the various scam decks. Anything that's when you're 1-for-1ing and then you just get to bring this back. It's Lightning Helix multiple times. Very powerful when you escape it with Arena of Glory. You can get haste for the turn, so it's a lot of damage, very quick, helps you stabilize as well. But the energy package that you're going to see a lot of in formats is Galvanic Discharge, scalable 1-mana removal spell, Guide of Souls, life gain, and energy enabler. And then you have Amped Raptor, which is often 2 cards you get to cast, as well as Unstable Amulet. This version's also on Felia, that allows you to blink your stuff, so you can kind of blink your Fables to reset, your Static Prisons. You get the energy. This is a cast trigger, so you don't get the cascade kind of effect, but you do get the energy again. Get to reset your Johnnies. This version's on the full Lightning Bolts. No Oscillate's Pride in this version, where in like Historic, Oscillate's Pride's very strong because there's no Bowmasters going around. So there's that version of the deck. Actually going to be slowly building towards this in Modern and Paper as well. This deck is really fun. And then we have, it's not the next concurrent in terms of win rate, but I just wanted to compare the two side by side. So we have the Lurrus version of the deck, 73% win rate. So similar components, you have Static Prisons, Ragavans. This one is on the full Oscillate's Pride. This card snowballs very quickly with the Guide of Souls. Full Unstable Amulet, full Felia, full Amp Raptor. In Historic, we're playing Bishop of Wing, not Bishop of Wings. The 2/2 Johnny Pridemate that just gets a whole bunch of stats. I forget its name offhand. Um, but that one there is like another very strong threat that kind of grows out of range. It's probably not as good in like the scam meta. There's more fatal pushes, stuff like that going around. Where in historic, a lot of it's like red based removal that can outpace. But very similar concepts with that. You're basically just using Oscillate's Pride. So allows you to go wide a little bit more, but probably a little less grind. And we're seeing that with about a 10% win rate difference. Small batch sizes, but not a huge population of games being played right now. So wanted to just kind of highlight some of the differences with the list itself. The next highest win rate deck is Rakdos Phoenix, so 75%. So you are able to turn one, get a whole bunch of Phoenixes. So things like chaining Dark Rituals together. You can do Strike It Rich into Dark Ritual into Buried Alive, then get the Arclight Phoenix. Very interesting that this list is only playing 3 Phoenix as opposed to the 4. While you can only search for 3 at a time, it still seems like odd to just not play the full set. I'm interested to see like if people are playing the deck, like if there's a reason for that. You also have Ox of Agonis for some value, Dragon Rage Chandler. Then you also have the ability to kind of just Underworld Breach for value, get stuff back. You have Stitcher Supplier to fill your yard as well if you don't have the Bury Alive line, and then Looting's effects. If you are playing this deck, so Faithless Looting, they introduced a couple alternate arts in the client. So Faithless Looting has another art style. It's 1,000 gold. It's a really, really cool art style. They did it for Llanowar Elf. They did it for Arcane Signet and Command Tower. So I think like the Commander Masters or something, like the alt arts for it, they introduced it into the client, but they haven't advertised it yet. The Faithless Looting one's really, really, really cool. Just in case you like those types of things for cosmetics. So just kind of cheat into Phoenix, win that way there. Against like scam decks, stuff in your graveyard's not the end of the world. Then go to Mono Black Scam. So we're scamming in different ways and starting with Mono Black. So this one's got the non-vampire package. So I think that's kind of a distinguishing line. So some of them will go into like have the backdoor Sorin into Vein Ripper. This one is got Grief, Shieldred One Ring, as well as Troll. You can reanimate either these or in full control. Once Grief's on the stack, you can not dead after all it. It comes back. Whole bunch of cheap removal, fatal pushes, disruption with like Thoughtseize, Shieldred's Edict. You have your Bowmasters. Seeing another new card in Consuming Corruption. So basically, damage equal to the number of swamps you control to target creature with planeswalkers. On this deck, you're not going to have a huge density in like some other formats where you don't have the fetches, because that's going to kind of impact your overall mana count. But you're also seeing stuff incidentally like the Gate of the Black Dragon, which can be fetched. That also has the swamp subtype to it. Then go to 4-color Show and Tell. So we've seen the Show and Tell decks kind of adjust to likely a heavier discard. So this one here is really a blue-white Show and Tell deck that is leveraging, like now you have the Ley Lines main, a lot more interaction, Otherworldly Gaze to kind of set up your draws as well, and Treasure Cruises along with the Dig Through Times. You have your Omniscience package, eventually you get Fae of Wishes, and then kind of chain off that way there. You have the Approach the Second Sun win condition. Here to the Abyss is an interesting one, I guess, just to keep drawing more cards. We see Orn's Chant, just some interesting sideboard charts, but most of the time you're just going to get Approach the Second Sun to kind of combo off there. This one's like blue-white control that's either going to win just through an Atraxa or Omniscience combo with Fae of Wishes as well. So a little bit different than what we've typically seen in terms of more of a Sultai orientation. This one's going blue-white. The aforementioned Rakdos Scam. So red-black, we got 70% win rate on this one. This one's close to what like the modern deck was at the time. But you have the Reanimate package that works with both the Evoke Elementals, your Griefs, your Furies, your Trolls in here with Reanimate, a Ragavan in here, Molten Impact could be pitched, Bloodboon main, Fable main, a single copy of Lightning Bolt, and then the full Scam package, or close to it, with Feign Death, as well as Not Dead After All. So very similar in terms of playstyle to like the Mono Black version, but you're not getting as much sustained card advantage, but you have a little bit more kind of free value removal in it. We then go to Mardu Vampires Scam Phoenix hybrid of let's jam as many decks as possible. So first off the bat, we got 13 lands in this one. It's got a 69% win rate. I am very curious how often this deck actually lists like them all. So you do technically have the trolls that can cycle. This version of the deck's got Faithless Looting to help you dig, Dark Ritual, so you can Dark Ritual to Sorin into any of your vampires, Saint Elenda or Vein Ripper. You have the Grief Flying to reanimate. You have Troll that can be reanimated. You have the Buried Alive lines. Surgical Extraction can be a free spell for the deck. So very interesting mashup. I shudder to think 13 lines. Like there's hand smoothing, but those hands can only be so smooth. We got 4-color Belcher. So Belcher got the addition of a bunch of new module lands. So you have like the Cycle of Freyleys in here, Turn Timber Symbiosis. Just a bunch of lines that could come into play untapped if you need to now. This one's mainboarding Leyline. So Leyline could be Sash Beseech for value. Core of the deck is playing out Belcher, activating it. You have no land, so you just fireball your opponent. You can use Ironcrag Feat with a combination of Beseech, so you can Beseech into Ironcrag if you have Belcher in hand. You can channel and just Belcher right away. You have tutor effects with like Demonic Tutor, Assemble the Team, and Wishclaw Talisman. Dark Ritual works in there. You can kind of store away mana, get some value with like Wizard's Rocket or Chromatic Sphere as well. Moving on, we go to Domain Zoo. So the Zoo deck got a couple more cats to it. Interesting, only like one of Johnny. This card's nuts every time I play it. Love this card. It's probably my favorite card from the set. Amped Raptor just gets you free cast. Everything in the deck can be played. You'll notice the deck is shifted to Lurrus version just to kind of take advantage. Bowmasters, Breakouts, just very lean, aggressive deck. It's kind of a switch up with some of the fetch lines in here. Just since we have the full set, you can kind of tailor your mana now as you'd like. But the one interesting thing here, only 2 Kavus. So you're still playing the full Nashiba Brawler. I could understand the 2 Kavus if you're playing more Johnnies, but this card is like probably the best 2-drop in the deck still. I would sooner play like 2 less Ragavan or some combination of that just to max out on like the Kavus, maybe like trim a Bowmaster, trim a Ragavan, play the Kavus themselves. Then go to 4-color Up the Beanstalk, just money pile of cards. Like the only thing that's not a rare mythic are the 3 basics and the 4 Up the Beanstalk in this list. So you have your Elemental Package, Furies, Solitudes in here, Leyline Bindings, basically a 1-mana removal spell based on your mana. Phlage in here, you have Nissa that plays really nicely to fetch you either your Elementals or Omnath. Notably, if you have Up the Beanstalk out, if you're not familiar, if this is the first kind of interaction, when you evoke these, it still counts as cast, so it triggers Up the Beanstalk. It still enters the battlefield. And you get a card draw out of it. So it's kind of that card draw engine that you normally wouldn't have. And then just a bunch of cheap removal. Delighted Halfling kind of gets you ahead. 1 ring for value, all mixed into there. And then we got Dimir Psychic Frog Scam. Just throw words together at the wall. So you're leveraging kind of a graveyard package. So self-mill with like Stitcher Supplier in here. You have your Scam to reanimate package. Flare of Malice, Flare of Denial can sack a bunch of things like Prize Amalgam or Bloodghast that come back from the graveyard. Chthonian Nightmare brings you back stuff from the graveyard, so it's kind of a graveyard-centric deck. When you get stuff back from the graveyard, so Turo draws you cards, you can discard stuff to Psychic Frog, like the Bloodghast or Prize Amalgam, and then get stuff back, provides you a card engine. So kind of an interesting kind of shell here that's leveraging the theme. Seems like a fun deck. Just kind of not all into Dredge, where sometimes you just lose to yourself, but a little bit more controlled and value engine out of your graveyard. That's it for the week. Let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking. And like I said, if you can, we're trying to hit 13,000 subs. It helps out a great amount. If you can like, comment, and if you haven't done so, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one, and enjoy your weekend.